Your browser does not render typography. It approximates it. And Lumenexus exists because that approximation is not good enough. Every time you ship text to the DOM, you are handing control over to a system that was built for speed, not precision. Layout engines are optimized to move fast, batch operations, and avoid blocking the main thread. Typography is just along for the ride. That is the root problem. Lumenexus was not built to decorate text. It was built to replace how text is computed. Let's break the failure first. Modern browsers rely on shaping engines like Halfbuzz to interpret fonts, kerning pairs, ligatures, glyph positioning. On paper, that sounds like exactly what we want. But Halfbuzz is only one layer in a much larger pipeline. Once those glyphs are computed, they get passed into layout engines that do not think in glyph relationships. They think in boxes, inline boxes, flow containers, reflow constraints. That means kerning is treated as a suggestion, not a rule. Now add sub-pixel rendering. In theory, glyphs should be placed at fractional pixel values for perfect spacing. In reality, engines snap, round, and batch for performance consistency, especially when GPU compositing gets involved. So spacing drifts. Not enough to throw an error, just enough to break optical balance. Then come ligatures. A ligature like FI should resolve into a single glyph. But depending on rendering paths, CSS properties, and browser decisions, ligatures can be inconsistently applied or broken entirely. So what you end up with is a system where every layer introduces small compromises, none of them catastrophic, all of them cumulative. The result is text that feels slightly wrong. This is where most developers stop. They tweak letter spacing, they toggle font feature settings, they try to patch the output. Lumenexus takes a different position. The problem is not the output, the problem is the pipeline. FVLA does not rely on the browser to figure out typography. It defines typography before the browser ever gets involved. Instead of letting the DOM control flow first and spacing second, FVLA calculates glyph relationships up front. Kerning is treated as a fixed mathematical contract between glyphs, not something that can be overridden by layout constraints. That single shift changes everything. Once you control spacing at the glyph level, you eliminate the entire class of errors caused by layout interference. FVLA removes cumulative rounding drift by owning sub-pixel math directly. No snapping, no silent adjustments. Each glyph is positioned with deterministic precision relative to its neighbors. Ligatures are no longer left to browser interpretation. They are resolved inside the system, then passed forward as stable units. That means no cross-browser inconsistency, no broken rendering paths. And here is the key difference. Browsers optimize typography for performance metrics: paint time, layout cost, frame stability. Lumenexus optimizes typography for perception. That means spacing is evaluated based on optical balance, not just numeric alignment. The system is built around how humans read, not how engines batch computations. Now here is where people get it wrong. They assume more precision means more performance cost. But what actually kills performance in browsers is rework, reflows, recalculations, layout thrashing caused by systems constantly correcting themselves. FVLA avoids that by front-loading correctness. Instead of recalculating spacing every time the layout shifts, it establishes stable relationships once, then lets the layout operate on top of that stability. So you are not trading speed for quality. You are removing inefficiency at the root. And this is why Lumenexus is not a styling tool. It is a typography engine. It does not sit on top of the browser. It intercepts one of the most fragile parts of the rendering pipeline and replaces it with something deterministic. Because typography is not decoration, it is structure. It affects readability, trust, and perceived performance more than most developers realize. When spacing is off, users feel friction instantly, even if they cannot explain it. That friction is what Lumenexus removes. So when you look at your UI and something feels slightly unpolished, slightly unstable, slightly off, you are not imagining it. You are seeing the limits of a system that was never designed for typographic precision. FVLA fixes that by changing where the math happens, not after layout, not during paint, but at the source. And once you control the math, you stop fighting the browser. You start defining the result. Thanks for watching Front End Systems Lab. Please subscribe for more under the hood content.